Hey friends, and welcome back to my channel. As I'm filming this, I'm out for a run, and it's coming to the end of 2023. And like most people, I feel like at this time of the year, you're kind of reflecting back on how the past year has been and how you'd characterize it. And for me, it's kind of been this. It's been running. And for those who know me, that probably comes a little bit as a shock. I've never been much of a runner. And honestly, climbing over the past few years has consumed my life. But that, along with a lot of my hobbies and passions, kind of took a back seat to trail running this year. And, you know, a little bit more on that later. So I am out here on a short little post-work run in Dumont, Colorado, where I live. And these are some of the trails and jeeping networks that are right around this area. But I kind of wanted to give a background on my running history. It's honestly, over the past few years, sporadic. I go through waves, but just to give you an idea, I don't think I've ever logged a year over 100, 150 miles. So this year I'm over 1,000 miles for the year. So that just shows you how much it's ramped up in the past year. And I kind of thought it would be fun to do a video of my top 5 runs of 2023. This video is going to be a little bit more raw, less flashy cinematic stuff, but I thought it'd be fun just to showcase some of those runs, and it'll be a little bit easier back in the house, so I'll see you in there. All right, so coming in at number 5 was a run that I did down in Canyon City, Colorado, which is the home of the Royal Gorge Bridge. I started right in downtown, and I linked up the Arkansas River Walk with Tunnel Drive, which runs right along the Arkansas River on the southern end of the gorge. The first 4 miles are relatively flat with not much notable gain. All of that changes when you get to the Royal Cascade Trail, which I believe is a mountain bike trail that comes down from Fremont Peak. The next 3.5 miles, you climb nearly 2,500 feet to the top of Fremont Peak, which sits at about 7,097 feet above sea level. The trail was incredibly flowy, but really steep in sections as well, which I love. So I just hit 6 miles, and I'm only at 1,200 feet. I have 1.3 miles to the top and 1,500 feet. And I'm doing the math. Oh, I love it. I couldn't help how much I was enjoying the run and the amazing views of the snow-capped Sangre de Cristo Range. This is definitely a run I will come back and do again. Overall, the run was about 15 miles with 2,500 feet of gain. It's funny how this run makes my top 5 because I honestly had a really bad back half bonk that left me walking some of the flats and downhills and even sitting down at some parts. I attribute that to poor nutrition habits leading into the run. I decided to include this run in my top 5, not only because of the phenomenal route, but also, just like in life, as a little bit of a reminder, runs have ups and downs, and it's how you decide to narrate that overall experience which will characterize how you remember it. We all go through struggles in life and on runs, but you need to try to look at it in a positive way, and that's what I took away from this run. Phenomenal route, struggle, good experience. The next spot comes down to a run I did with two of my best buds, Jacob and Adam. Surprisingly, I haven't spent a lot of time down in Colorado Springs, so when Jacob, a native and local to Colorado Springs, built this stellar route, I had to say yes to jump in. Jacob spends most of his time on the amazing trail network right outside of town. We linked up 3 different areas: Bear Creek, Red Rocks Canyon, and Section 16. The gut punch came late to the party at mile 10, where Jacob led us up a 900-foot climb in less than a mile. But we were quickly rewarded with 3 miles of fun and flowy downhill, which linked us up to a trail system that would bring us back to our car. It was about a 16.5-mile jaunt with 2,800 feet. It was one of those runs where you're just in awe at your friends and how strong they can be. Adam and I were talking about how Jacob just looked incredibly fast, and we struggled keeping up with him on the climbs and the descents. Throughout the year, I had a lot of runs with a lot of amazing friends, and that's what I characterize this run as: spending time in the places you love with the people you love. Run number 3 of 2023 was a 20-mile run that I did with my friend Jacob on segment 14 of the Colorado Trail. This was one of my final long training runs before I tapered off for the Devil on the Divide 50K. I had never traveled over an entire segment of the Colorado Trail, so this was a great way to see what the CT was all about. So when Jacob is in full beast training mode, he can run circles around me. So I was in peak form during this run. Jacob was about a month removed from his 50-miler, the Silver Rush 50, which is part of the Leadville Race Series, and he was still kind of in recovery. So I was in peak form. So this run was going to kind of tell me where I was standing fitness-wise, and to my excitement, all of the hard work throughout the summer was paying off. I felt so strong on all the climbs, the flats, and the descents. Even in a late big climb at mile 16, I found myself dropping Jacob on the uphill, which never happens. Something that made that day really special was Jacob saying, "Man, you look so freaking strong right now." And coming from him, that's a huge compliment. The combination of the amazing views of the Sawatch Range and the flowy aspen glades, meaningful conversation, and seeing the payoff of a hard spring and summer of training made this a very memorable top 5 run. So my number 2 run is one of those runs that is more like speed hiking. I finished the Colorado 14ers a few years ago, so now I've set my sights on the Colorado Centennials, which is basically the top 13ers that round out the top 100 peaks in Colorado. What's really fun about the Centennials is they're a lot less crowded and the trails are a lot less polished, if they even exist at all. It feels kind of more like an adventure than your standard 14er trail. I love jumping on mapping softwares and trying to build some obscure route that can link up multiple peaks in a range. This particular run, I had my eyes set on Emerald Peak. So I started at the Missouri Gulch Trailhead, which is the standard trailhead for Missouri, Belford, and Oxford, 3 Colorado 14ers. The route into the upper basin is steep, but once you get out of tree line, the grade simmers down a little bit. Once I got above tree line, I got hammered with rain, and the skies looked a little bit questionable for thunderstorms, which is kind of rare that early in the morning. I put on my raincoat and I kept moving ahead towards Elkhead Pass, keeping my eyes on the sky, just being weary of what may come. And to my surprise and luck, the skies opened up and I could tell I had a few hours to try to hammer this out before any other storms came in. I made my way to Elkhead Pass, which is a saddle between Missouri and Belford. From there, you can see Emerald Peak, my objective of the day. From here, it's pretty much all off trail. You just aim for the summit and go. These type of off-trail quests are some of my favorite adventures in the mountain. Sure, there are online maps and photos for reference, but I often just pick a route and see if it goes. After summiting Emerald, I made my way over to Iowa Peak, which is an unregistered Centennial, so I figured I'd tag that as well, and then continued on to Missouri, a Colorado 14er. I was contemplating going on and making it a larger day and tagging Belford and Oxford, but the clouds weren't looking promising. Spontaneous Mountain Day, hit Emerald Peak, that guy which is a Centennial, and then Iowa Peak, which is that guy down there. Now I'm on top of Missouri. Contemplated going over to Belford and Oxford, but it looked a little nasty. I didn't want to get caught above tree line in any threatening storms, so I ran my way back to the trailhead after 13.6 miles and 5,700 feet of gain. I'm always in need for some mountain therapy to recharge and recenter, and that's why this run made one of my top 5s of 2023. So I may be cheating here, but I am lumping 2 of my runs into my number 1 spot, both of these being my races from the 2023 season. Both the Wausau Backyard Ultra and the Devil on the Divide 50K rank in my top runs for 2023 because they were a culmination of hard work, training, passion, and community. These were only my first and second races I've ever ran in my life, and both of them showed me what the ultra running community is all about. Starting with the Wausau Backyard Ultra, the entire event was so well put on by the race directors. Being a small and new race, it felt like one big family, with so much support from complete strangers. So for those of you who don't know what a Backyard Ultra is, I'll explain really quick. It's a 4.167 mile loop that starts on the hour, every hour. As long as you're back in the starting corral at the start of the next hour, you can continue on. And it's a last man standing event. Only having about 4 months of running under my belt, I felt like this type of format would be perfect where speed wasn't really a factor.
Wow, how you guys feeling?
Hey, you got it.
Yeah.
I'm no stranger to suffering for 12 to 24 hours in the mountains in one push, so I felt like an endurance event that did not rely on speed would play in my favor. All in all, my first ever organized race was an ultra marathon where I completed 16 laps or hours, clocking in 66 miles with over 8,000 feet of gain before I rang that bell. Not too bad for my first ever organized running event. I was extremely proud, but in hindsight, I feel like I left a lot out there. I had a lot left to give, and I plan on proving that as I plan to return to that race this year. This was such an incredibly fun event to share so many miles with friends and strangers. And lastly, the Devil on the Divide 50K. I chose this race because the starting line was only 15 miles from my house and the finish line is only 6. The course runs up and along the Continental Divide and has an average elevation of 11,000 feet. This fact, along with 6,500 feet of gain and a large section of minimal trail, they claim as one of Colorado's most challenging 50Ks. So I consider myself more of a mountain athlete than a true runner. So any event that has a stupid amount of gain, you know I'm always going to be interested. I had the very arbitrary goal to finish in the top 25%, which gave me a time goal to aim for. I felt going into the race that it was going to take everything it would just to get in under that time. But come race day, I blew even my own expectations. I ended up coming in 9th overall and beat that time that I had set by over 40 minutes. I had an amazing crew and support during both of these races, and it gave me a taste of what the trail running community is all about, and I just can't wait to keep experiencing it. To wrap up, I'm going to send it back to Trail Taylor, who I'm sure is having a lot more fun outside than I am in here. See ya. That wraps up my top 5 runs of 2023. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you guys can like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate it. And you know, kind of as a sign off for 2024, I want to take all those passions and hobbies that I was kind of putting on the back burner. I want to make them more of a priority and have a more balanced hobbies and passions this year, balancing it with all of the running I plan on doing. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you guys had an excellent holiday season, and I wish you the best in 2024. And just remember, guys, adventure awaits. Where my fitness, oh my God, what the my God. With only 4 months of running under my belt. Woo.